I'm sorry, Mrs. Ganesh, but another extension on the loan is out of the question.
What? You shamed me. I, the soul of Kristen Brown, we will feast upon it.
I'm high on some cough syrup, and I'm somewhere at a state between conscious and unconscious. So that's like a perfect state for me to be in, for you to explain me Multiverse of Madness.
I felt like I was like high on some prescription pills from watching that movie. I swear to God.
Yeah, tell me about it. I want to know, did you like it?
Well, I thought it was okay.
Can I predict something? What you're gonna tell me?
Oh yeah.
The script is awful. It feels forced. The Raimi bits are good.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was gonna say.
That's just what I've been reading around.
Yeah, it's all true. The script is like probably one of the worst Marvel scripts that they've done. But Sam Raimi's direction carries that movie so hard.
Yeah, I feel like the script almost like hinders him.
Yep.
Because I feel like Sam Raimi is really good with simple concepts and just rolling with it. And if they were just to do something goofy and easy, but instead they give him the most convoluted fucking thing ever, that you need to watch like 4 other shows and all the movies to understand what's going on. Yeah,
I went into it under the impression that it was Sam writing it as well. But then at the end of the movie, the credits, it did not give him a writing credit. And the person who wrote it was Michael Waldron, who wrote who's writing a bunch of other Marvel stuff. He like wrote the first season of the Loki show.
So he's a hack.
Yeah, so he's one of the Marvel's like little writers who they can boss around, and he does anything they want.
So it was basically just Raimi just being like, okay, how can we salvage this?
Yeah, that's what I picture it, because like he like is directing the shit out of the movie. Like it's without a doubt the most visually interesting Marvel movie.
Okay,
it's just like it's everything you would expect from a Sam Raimi movie. Like the camera is like moving around a lot. Like there's so many dynamic like shots, even close-ups of people's faces like always are moving around. And it's like, yeah, this is like a really pretty looking movie. And it just looks like a real movie other than the effect shots. But
I like how like a compliment you have to give a Marvel movie is it looks like a real movie.
That's a lot to ask for these days. After watching Spider-Man No Way Home, where like it literally every fucking frame of the movie had some kind of effect in it. It's like you got to appreciate something that doesn't look so fake and bad.
I feel like just right now, like Marvel is just at like a desert of creativity. So anytime there's like one little oasis of creativity, like people are like, oh, now this is art.
People are like praising it as like the coming of Christ.
Yeah, and it's like, no, this is just a dude who actually likes making movies, making a movie. Wait, I have a question because I've been reading a lot of controversy. People have been saying and upset. They say that this movie should have gotten an R rating.
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. It should have gotten an R rating. But I will say they got away with a hell of a lot of stuff for PG-13. Like, I was shocked at how like violent some of it was.
Wait, what can you say without spoiling? I don't give a shit. You can spoil for me, but I don't want people listening to get spoiled.
To get spoiled? Do people care that much about Doctor Strange? All right. Well, okay. I will say I'll just give situations that happen. I won't say what characters this happens to.
Okay.
All right. At one point, a character's mouth gets like erased, so it's just like skin where his mouth was.
Yeah.
And then his head literally explodes, and his eyeball like goes bloodshot and is like going like cross-eyed. And I was
That's
like,
cool.
God damn. I'll granted, you don't see, because this character's wearing a mask whose head explodes. So you don't see the blood from his head, but you see like it like pop and then depress.
Oh, it like
on the inside of his head. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's very Sam Raimi.
I know.
That's awesome.
You know, there's a scene in it where they introduce a bunch of characters from the multiverse. And it was so funny listening to the audience reactions to it, because the characters would like show up on screen and you'd be like, oh my God, it's that character. Wow, they've never been in the MCU before. And everyone was like cheering at one certain character.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 minutes later, they all get horribly murdered.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I'll say Scarlet Witch horribly murders them, because she's just a straight up villain of this movie, apparently.
Yeah, that's the vibe I kind of got from the trailer.
That's one of the things I really liked about it was Sam Raimi was like, okay, Scarlet Witch, she's a witch. He's like, okay, I know how to do that. And just made her creepy as fuck.
So then she made her like actually a witch.
Yeah, she's straight up just creepy witch shit in this movie.
I was always confused by that, because I've only seen like maybe an episode and a half of WandaVision, and I've seen a little sprinkle of Marvel movies here and there, and I never understood why they called her Scarlet Witch, because I'm like, that's just a woman. that's not a witch.
Yeah, she's like special because like she's like the most powerful witch in existence or some stupid shit like that. That's why they call her the Scarlet Witch, because in the mythology of the Marvel Universe, that's like supposed to be the most powerful witch of ever. That whole thing. It's like that in the movies. I'm not sure if it's like that in the comics, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in Doctor Strange 2. His horror stamp is like all over it. There are some genuinely really creepy parts of the movie, which I was surprised by.
I heard people say like, this should have been a horror movie.
It really shouldn't, but there are like horror like scenes in it. Like,
yeah, kind of like Aquaman had, because James Wan was directing it. They put like a horror scene in there.
Yeah, it's like that sort of thing. It's like, you remember in Spider-Man 2 when Sam Raimi directed that, and then there was that one scene that is like basically the greatest Evil Dead sequel ever made, when their Doc Ock is knocked down and the doctors are operating on him.
Oh yeah, and his arms are going everywhere.
Yeah, his arms come alive and start attacking all of them. Yeah, it's like it has that kind of thing, where the whole movie isn't horror, but like here and there, like you'll have scenes that are like, oh, that's actually pretty creepy, like, and then most of it has to do with Scarlet Witch's character, which is why I found her to be the most interesting part of it. Oddly enough, Doctor Strange was the least interesting part of it.
You're telling me the Strange Doctor isn't that strange?
No. Well, the movie spends no time at all on him. The script is bad. It's basically 2 hours straight of action, and like there's barely any scenes with like establishing characters or talking about characters at all. Yeah, it's like it's rough. It's a rough one.
Well, do you think I would enjoy this movie?
I think I would say look up the scene where Scarlet Witch horribly murders the Illuminati on YouTube, and then you're
saying me just look up like the action bits?
I'm saying no, not even all of it. I'm just saying just look up that scene specifically.
And then that's it. I've watched.
Yeah, you've watched the most entertaining part of it. Okay. I don't know. I just thought it was entertaining because usually in Marvel movies they introduce like these characters to like set them up for more movies.
And then they just kill them.
Yeah, it was just funny to like have them all introduced and then kill them like 5 minutes. So
it's kind of like what they did with the new Suicide Squad.
Yes, but without any of the good character building that
Suicide Squad hypes them up.
Oh yeah,
and even the marketing. They were just like, these are our characters. These are who you're going to be with. And then just, no.
Yeah. Okay. It was like, those characters are on screen for literally, it felt like 5 minutes. Oh. And some of them are like fan favorite characters from other past iterations of Marvel movies.
But
So it was
this
shocking.
is the multiverse, right? So technically, in another universe, they could still be alive.
Yes, that's what all the Marvel fans are gonna be holding on to, is that hope that these characters are still alive somehow, somewhere.
So what I'm hearing you say is basically just go see everything everywhere all at once instead.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I can't recommend that movie enough. It's actually doing pretty well at the box office. I looked at the
I
recent
saw it's still
returns
doing
on
good.
it. Yeah, I was like, I'm happy for them.
Good for them. Good for Daniels.
It's gonna get blown out of the water by this Doctor Strange movie, but what can you do?
I haven't even looked up what like general audiences like reactions are to this one.
I think it has like a B+ score on Cinema Score, which is like a site where audiences can go and like give a rating on a movie.
I just know people like that only watch like Marvel movies. Like in a year, they only watch like whatever the new Marvel movies come out. So those are like the only movies they watch, are like really upset by the violence in it and are saying that like it should be an R rating and like kids shouldn't be allowed to see it and they should give like warnings before. And I'm like,
I was shocked at I was shocked at how much violence was in it. I will say that. I don't think it's R-rated worthy violence, but I was like, God damn, okay, some of this stuff is actually pretty like grotesque for a Marvel movie.
So what you're saying is, here at the Guts and Ghouls podcast, we condone violence.
Absolutely love it.
We want
it should be
violence.
done against anyone and everyone that it could possibly be done against.
For any reason it can be done.
Yes,
you can always
exactly.
justify violence.
Oh God. Well, okay, let's stop with the Doctor Strange talk and let's move on to just Sam Raimi in general, because we're here to talk about a Sam Raimi movie.
I'm a big Raimi head.
Yeah, me too. And I basically kind of wanted to start off with just talking about Sam Raimi as a filmmaker and how kind of a wholesome guy he is.
All right.
Because I feel like with a lot of the stuff that he says about filmmaking, is he really just wants to like please the audience.
Yeah.
And I get that a lot from watching his superhero movies in general. Like it seems like he injects parts of himself in there, but like he still is really wanting to satisfy the audience and like keep them interested and engaged. And it just seems like he wants them to have a good time more than anything else. And I've always found that really admirable about him. What do you think about Sam Raimi as a filmmaker?
I mean, you know me, like Evil Dead is probably one of the most consistent horror franchises. And a part of the reason is because Sam Raimi's involvement with all of them. So, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think Sam Raimi is a guy. He's almost like the, this is going to be a weird comparison, but he's almost like the opposite of David Lynch.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say he's the anti-David Lynch.
Where both of them are making movies for themselves, but David Lynch is much more cynical and Raimi is much more fun. Like David Lynch is like, I want a scene where a guy sweeps the fucking floor for 5 minutes. I don't give a shit if you like it. I want it in my fucking movie because it makes me fucking happy, you fucking idiot. You know? And Sam Raimi's just like, yeah, it'd be cool if like Bruce Campbell like fought his own hands. You guys think that's funny? Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, let's put it in the movie that, you know.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to go back to Doctor Strange 2.
Yes.
But Bruce Campbell's cameo in it is fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Tell me what it is. I don't give a shit.
It's literally what you just described. Is Bruce Campbell fighting himself? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. I was laughing so hard, and no one else in the theater was laughing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I heard that like Bruce Campbell was like officially making a cameo, I'm like, no one is gonna clap for that. No one is going to be excited. No one's gonna understand.
Yeah, it's so weird. He's like he's Doctor Strange and America Chavez are in like an alternate world. And like he's like a pizza ball vendor. He sells like pizza balls.
Pizza balls? The Eric Andre skit?
Yeah, that's literally it.
Okay.
And his name is Pizza Papa. And like America Chavez thinks like all food is free because apparently all food is free from the universe that she's from.
Right.
So she just takes some of Pizza Papa's pizza balls, and then Pizza Papa's like, "Hey, you stole my food. You didn't pay for that." And then Dr. Chang just like, "Oh, shut up." And he puts like a spell on him that like forces him to hit himself for like 3 years or something like that. And so then it's just an extended sequence of Bruce Campbell punching himself in the face.
So it's basically just like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
It literally is. That's why I loved it. I was like,
That's
damn
awesome.
I can imagine Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell getting together and it's like, how can we force in me hitting myself into this movie?
Have you seen Bruce Campbell do like that self like punch flip thing he does?
No.
Look it up. Look it up after this. It's really funny. He's really good at it. He won't do it anymore because he's an old man.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does this like punch into like a backflip. It's awesome.
That sounds pretty cool. He's
I guess
like
he
the
had to learn
master
to
of
do it.
physical comedy against yourself.
Yeah. I want to see him and Rowan Atkins go up against each other.
It's just Bruce Campbell punching himself, and then Ron
Yeah.
Atkins is like doing like schlocky.
He's just like
God.
accidentally burning down the cabin in Evil Dead. He's unintentionally killing all the Deadites.
Oh God, that would be amazing. I want to see that now.
I just want to see Mr. Bean transported into other horror movies. Because, you know, he just wouldn't give a shit about any of the monsters or anything. He would just be more like mildly annoyed. That'd be cool.
Please write that. That's the next Evil Dead movie with Ash Williams.
Mr. Bean versus Ash.
Oh God. Well, yeah, I mean, I think Sam as a filmmaker means a lot to both of us. I mean,
yeah,
I was a fan of Sam Raimi without even knowing it when I was a kid because I would watch Spider-Man 1 and 2 constantly.
Yeah, I watched those movies a lot.
Yeah, they even the third one when I was young and I didn't know what good movies were. I would even watch that one on repeat. Like,
I defend the third one.
No, I don't think it's a. I mean, it's a bad movie from a technical perspective, but there are like good things in it that you can enjoy.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I mean, he's had a pretty interesting career because I feel like he ping pongs between like these giant studio movies, and he'll do like a really small one. Like the movie we're talking about today, Drag Me to Hell. Yeah. He did immediately after Spider-Man 3 was done.
Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting about, just to give a little background on this movie, it was actually written over 10 years prior to when it was actually made. So him and his brother wrote it in like 1992, around there, after they had finished Army of Darkness. And it was actually their intent to make that after Army of Darkness. But then, of course, he got like scooped up into the Hollywood machine and was making like the Spider-Man movies for like 10 years, basically.
So
he kind of put that on the back burner.
It actually made directors' careers instead of ruined them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is interesting because I didn't know this, that they like written it before. You know how different this movie would have been though if they actually made it in the 90s?
I know. I was thinking that during it. I was like, it's interesting to think of like what this movie would have looked like.
Because this is I feel like a very 2000s movie.
Mm-hmm.
In like the best way possible.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah, and another interesting thing that I had read up about it was because of that such a long delayed production of it. He had that script in his backlog for so long. Mm-hmm. That during the whole Spider-Man thing, he actually approached Edgar Wright, and he's like, "Hey, dude, can you direct this movie?" And then Edgar Wright said no because he said it would feel like doing karaoke. Those were his own words. Yeah. So I always thought that was kind of interesting.
I could see Edgar Wright pulling off something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought that this, like, especially after watching like something like Hot Fuzz, which has some horror stuff to it, I was like, I could see it. I definitely see this being like
I feel
a
like
witty...
Edgar Wright's stuff has a little bit of horror. I haven't seen Last Night in Soho, which I've heard is his most true horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Shaun of the Dead is
that
zombie movie, horror movie, but that's more like a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if there was to be like another director to make like an Evil Dead, like Edgar Wright would do okay.
Yeah, no, that's what I think too. I actually saw Last Night in Soho, and I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, good. I want to watch that.
It is a pretty much just a straight up horror movie.
Oh, cool.
Like,
I wasn't sure because I heard people say like it wasn't. It was.
Yeah, I would say it is. There's like some pretty like nightmare fuel scenes in it, like, and a lot of the movie is just you're just going through this horrific situation.
So it's a David Lynch movie.
Yeah, no, unironically, there were scenes that like reminded me of like the woodsman from Twin Peaks.
I love a good woman in trouble. A man just like David Lynch.
You gotta love it. Another kind of interesting fact I learned about the casting of it was that they actually had got Ellen Page to sign on, or as she was known then, she's known now as Elliot Page, to sign on playing the role of the main girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess she kind of moved out of the project to do some movie called Whip It.
Oh, I know Whip It.
Yeah.
I own Whip It for some reason.
Do you really?
I just have Whip It on DVD. My dad brought it home. He's like, "You like Ellen Page, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Here, I got it at work." And there's just like Whip It on DVD, and I'm like, "Thanks, Dad." So I watched Whip
It. That's awesome. Is that actually a good movie?
I don't remember. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Like if you just want like a lighthearted comedy drama about women rollerblading. I mean, it's Ellen Page. You know, it's like you kind of you get what you expect.
Another kind of interesting fact I learned about the casting was the lady who plays the Ganoush character, the old lady character in this. She had actually, during the audition process for it, she literally was the only thing she heard about it was that, okay, you're auditioning to play a lady who goes to the bank to try to prevent the foreclosure of her house.
Oh, okay.
So when she got cast, she got to read the rest of the script, and she was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna be puking out maggots on this girl. Interesting."
Wait, so was she cool with that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna be like, she was appalled and she went to the Catholic Church.
No, from what I read, it seemed like it was like a funny story to her.
Oh, that's cool. I like when old people are fun.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting backstory to the movie, and it's interesting that I thought that it took so long for Sam to end up like making it. Actually,
hey, maybe it worked out in the end.
Yeah, I mean,
it probably would have been a lot different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what did you think of this movie overall?
I love Drag Me to Hell. I remember I saw it a few years ago. And this would be my first time rewatching it since. And it's a movie that has always stuck with me. Because I think Sam Raimi is really good at something that I feel like is lost now. Especially in horror comedy or just you blend comedy with anything. Like, I mean, let's just use Marvel, for example, where, say, Marvel's like, they're action comedies, right? Mm-hmm. But you have your fighting, they stop, and then go, one-liner, funny, everyone laughs, and then back to action. Where I feel like Sam Raimi is very good at blending comedy and horror and the action all in one, where he's almost like making bits. Like there's setups, punchlines, and payoffs constantly. Like when the old lady is like at the bank and you see her take out her dentures so she can suck on some like hard candy, and then later she gets like her dentures like punched out. And then she starts gumming our character, just like gnawing on her with her juicy gums.
Oh god, that was hilarious.
But it's just like fun bits like that. I mean, you look at like Evil Dead, and it's like the horror is the comedy as well, because some of it is just so absurd that it's funny.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that's lost now in action comedies, horror comedies, where they feel like it's a horror and a comedy, but no, it's a horror comedy, and I think that's what Sam Raimi gets really well. And I think this movie is genuinely horrifying for a lot of thematic reasons. which I think we'll get into later. But what has always stuck with me is the final shot of this film and how fucking cruel it is.
Oh,
and
God,
punishing for like it's so fucked up for the tone of the movie. And the end, you're just like, what the fuck?
Right?
And I think that's
what
awesome.
I thought too.
And Raimi's got balls, because no way, like, just a big studio director would end a movie like that.
No, no way in hell. You're not going to see Doctor Strange get pulled into hell at the end of Doctor Strange 2.
Brutally murdered to eternity. And Iron Man just crying. It's like, ah!
Well, I think I really like this as well. It might be one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies now. I mean, I feel like, I feel like this is like right under Evil Dead 2 for me. I think this and Evil Dead 2 are my favorite ones of his.
I like all the Evil. I get tied a lot between Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, which I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Evil Dead 1. I love like the horror of it and the vibe, and I love all like the stop motion and just how gross it is. But yeah, I would agree. This is right below Evil Dead 1 and 2 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's solid. It even felt like an Evil Dead sequel at certain points.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this feels like something that would happen in Evil Dead.
one of my favorite parts, and I don't know why I didn't point out the absurdity of this the first time I watched it, but I noticed it this time when it's already funny because the lady like punched her hand through her mouth when they're fighting in the shed. Yeah. And she's like reaching for a knife to cut an anvil hanging above the old lady. And I'm like, why the fuck in the 21st century do you have an anvil?
Why is it hanging from the ceiling?
And two, why is it hanging like Looney Tunes from the ceiling?
Yeah.
And then she cuts it and it falls in her head, and her head like you know, like in Looney Tunes when an anvil falls, they get like flat. It like does that to her head, and her eyeballs just shoot out.
Oh my God, yeah, I thought that was so fucking funny.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was so hilarious. It's so weird because it's a genuinely scary scene, and then something like that happens, and you're like, oh my God, this is fucking hilarious.
I think that's what Raimi is really good at, is causing confusion.
Yeah,
in what you're supposed to be feeling.
Mm-hmm. Much like David Lynch, like we were mentioning earlier. But yeah, I think we both definitely recommend that people should watch this movie. It's really weird, but it's really good, and it's just like a solid horror movie. And it's, you know, it's a Sam Raimi movie. You got to see it. It's
very straight and direct, and that's what I like about it. Like, the title literally tells you the whole movie. And exactly. It has really good characters too.
Oh yeah, I think that's what makes it work so well for me, is that all the characters are our main characters are genuinely likable, especially
I fucking hate Stu.
Oh God, yeah, Stu's such a piece of shit.
I know a movie is doing a good job when I want to punch the character out of just emotion. Like, fuck you. You know? Not because I'm like annoyed with their choices, but I just genuinely fucking hate that guy. And I'm like, good movie.
Yeah.
It's making me get worked up. It's making me get sweaty.
That guy was a real cunt. And it was like, it was relatable because, you know, everyone has that kind of person in their workplace, you know, who's like always competing no matter what. It's like, dude, calm down. And
the second it doesn't go their way, they just cry.
Oh, yeah. They get real butthurt.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I know that.
I think, and I realized this while watching it now, I think Sam Raimi is a really good director for people who are new to horror movies that maybe don't watch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think his movies don't come off directly as like horror. Because I remember when me and my girlfriend started dating, one of the first movies we watched together was Evil Dead 2. Because she knew I was like, at that time I was going through like an Evil Dead obsession. Like, I was rewatching them a bunch. Mm-hmm. And she was like scared to watch Evil Dead 2. And then I think like probably 15 minutes in, she was like, oh, okay, I understand what this is now. And she was rolling with it. And since then, she's watched like Army of Darkness with me and stuff. So she likes it, and I think it's a good almost introduction to horror director.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Drag Me to Hell is a good example because it has a lot in it for everyone.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, like, I was thinking the same thing, because I feel like because of those Spider-Man movies I watched when I was young, like, and the horror elements that are in them, that kind of got me like mentally prepared for like more straight up horror movies later.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I got older, like you said, I started watching Evil Dead, and I was like, oh damn, okay, I actually like this, and I get what's going on here. This is like really cool and good. And then from there, I kind of branched out into like other horror movies, and yeah, he's a really good introductory horror director for sure.
So Sam Raimi popped your cherry.
Oh yeah, he'd be popping my cherry. That Doc Ock tentacle scene, that was when he popped my cherry, and I was like, oh man, I want more. I want more.
I will say that no superhero movie is brave to end like Spider-Man 1 did.
Oh, where he rejects the girl.
No, with the scene where Green Goblin just gets impaled by his own glider.
Oh yeah, he gets
That's awesome.
right in the dick. It's not even like in his chest or stomach, just right in his cock.
He's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And they undid that in Spider-Man No Way Home, because surprise,
fuck you.
Willem Dafoe was back.
Fuck you, Marvel.
I mean, I like that movie, but yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen any of the new Spider-Mans, but fuck you still.
fuck you.
Fuck you.
Well, I guess we should talk about what this movie actually is. So, if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend stopping here, going to watch it, and then coming back.
You can watch it on Hulu right now.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. You can rent it on Amazon, obviously. So yeah, go watch it.
It's a good movie.
I will legitimately buy this.
Physical media is important now more than ever.
Exactly. Well,
that sounded like a sarcastic stance, but it is true.
No, I agree. I think at a certain point, I feel like these streaming services, the bubble's gonna pop, and like then everyone will realize they don't own anything that they're watching.
And well, right now we're also dealing with people censoring a lot of stuff, and the only way you can see the stuff uncensored is having the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever you have.
Yeah, and it's like even now you could have some of your favorite movies on a streaming service, but it's like gone. They could be taken away at any point. Yeah, we just went to Half Price Books, and I found In Bruges and Ghost World, 2 movies that I absolutely love and are just never on any streaming service. Yeah. So I was really excited. I was thinking about In Bruges the other day, and I was actually going to try to watch it because I kept hearing things about it. Wait, have you not seen that movie? No, I haven't seen it yet. Genuinely, I think it's my favorite comedy. Oh, okay. That movie's so fucking... Okay, when you're back, we will watch In Bruges together. Okay, deal. We'll have an In Bruges night. You'll be a Bruges head. I hope so. I do like Colin Farrell. I love Colin Farrell. All right, let's get into spoilers. Yeah, let's get into spoilers. Yeah. Yahoo! You know what's not spoiled in this movie is the tomato score, because it is not rotten. Oh God. Sure. We'll go with that joke. What do you mean? I thought that was solid. You know, tomatoes, they're spoiled, rotten tomatoes. And you're going to not want to eat tomatoes after you see this because of all the blood, right? And pus. Yeah, pus and puke. Old lady saliva. I know for me, when a horror movie's good, when it has more than 2 bodily fluids in it. And all Raimi movies pass that test. All horror movies have blood. Some are brave, they go pee. But Raimi, you've got like puke, you've got pus,
You got just ooze.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that was coming out of that lady's mouth. It's just slime.
Yeah,
it's just green slime.
When she's like on top of her at the funeral. Yeah, I was like, God, that looks disgusting. And somehow she always has her mouth like around that girl's chin. It's just always going
One
there.
thing I'm very concerned, because I was actually watching behind the scenes. You know when she pukes all the worms in her mouth?
Yeah.
That's real.
Oh, really?
She actually filmed that and took like all the dirt and worms. They were real.
Oh, God, that's
You can see her immediately like spit them out. But like they just got that shot of like her screaming with them flowing in.
Oh, that's brutal.
That girl's probably traumatized.
Yeah.
A lot of things go in her mouth.
Oh, yeah. I guess this is another interesting thing to note that I'd found out earlier, but Alison Lohman, who plays Christine, this main girl that we're talking about that gets maggots puked into her mouth, she actually did all of her own stunts. So everything that you see her doing in this movie, that's all her.
That's really impressive, too.
Yeah. No,
she does a lot.
There's a lot of like action and horror in this movie that like you would need to be like there constantly probably filming this if you're doing all your own stunts and stuff. But yeah, that brings us kind of to our main character, Christine Brown, who we kind of pick up with her at the beginning of the movie. We find out that she works at a bank as like a loan officer. And she's got like a boyfriend who's played by Justin Long, which I thought was weird to see him in this for some reason.
You know, normally I don't like Justin Long. He's fine in this. He's fine.
Yeah, no, I thought he was solid too. I don't remember anything I've ever seen him in that I liked. So,
what do you mean you don't like Tusk? What the hell?
The hits Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah, genuinely Tusk. I'm not gonna say anything more than just it. I think it is actually the worst horror movie I've ever seen. I'm not gonna elaborate.
That doesn't surprise me. Okay. We'll elaborate more in a future episode next week.
No, I'm not watching Tusk again. I can't subject myself. We can have one movie that we will not talk. That's mine. I fucking hate that movie.
Oh, God. So yeah. Oh, I forgot to talk about. There's a flashback scene at the very beginning, where basically we're coming out, and it takes place in 1969.
Sex number
in Pasadena. Got him. And you start with like this Hispanic couple and their son who looks really ill, and like they're saying that he's like hearing evil voices because he stole this silver necklace from like a gypsy at some point. We don't see him steal it, but so they go to like this mystic lady, and they're like, "Oh, please help us, like get whatever devil is in our son, basically, out of him, because he's like going crazy." And like you see stuff from his point of view where there's like weird like shadow hands like on the skylight of the building they're in, like
a lot of shadow people in this movie.
Yeah, lots of weird shadow people. So yeah, while they're preparing for the seance, then all of a sudden, some kind of invisible force ends up dragging the boy and like throws him off this balcony, and they're all like freaking out. Mystic lady is kind of looking down at him as he's laying there after falling off of this balcony in this house they're in, and all of a sudden the ground starts breaking from underneath him, and he gets pulled into hell straight up. It's like hands come out, and it's horrifying.
Right in front of the parents.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty
Now, this
up.
is something that I think is one of the major themes of the movie and something we want to talk about later. But does the punishment fit the crime?
Probably no. Definitely not for the boy.
Definitely not. But I just want to say that and we'll get into it more once we go through the plot here.
Yeah. So yeah, this is where we cut back, like I was saying before, to Christine, our character, who's a loan officer, and she's got a boyfriend, Justin Long, and they seem to have a good relationship. you end up kind of liking them together, and he seems genuinely like her.
And he even like defends her in front of, he has like rich snooty parents. They don't like her because she's like from a farm.
Right. Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we want you to be with a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. And he's like, no, Mom, I love this woman. But
yeah,
like,
and it's like so terrible because she does. I mean, I feel like being a loan officer is a pretty respectable job.
Oh, yeah.
It pays
I couldn't
pretty
be it.
decently. Yeah. Making those hard decisions and like to write to people's faces. I mean, that's a rough
I couldn't
job.
be mean.
No.
I can only be mean behind people's back, not in front of them. Once they turn around, I'll talk shit, but not right in front of their face.
So yeah, she's very likable, and this is another thing that I've kind of noticed about Sam's work is that he picks like very like every man type characters to like be his like main characters.
Very relatable.
Yeah, I mean even Peter Parker, Spider-Man, the ultimate everyman. Like everyone has felt like Peter Parker at some point in their life. And same thing with Ash. I feel like even he's in absolutely absurd situations, but like he's such like a dummy, and like that it's kind of like hard not to like him.
Yeah, he's like a fun goofball.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and
he's not in that situation because he set himself up. He's just in there because it happened.
Right.
And that's much more easily to like relate to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you're just there with him. You're just there with him watching us cut his hand off and his hand getting possessed, and
it's awesome.
And it's the same thing with Christine. I feel like she may not be reaching her full potential, but she's still like really likable and, you know, kind of like your everyday person kind of character. And I think that's what makes Sam Raimi's movies work so well for a more general audience than a lot of other horror directors. So yeah, and then we kind of get introduced to her workplace from here. This is where we get introduced to her boss, who is like, he's not really an asshole, but he's kind of like I don't know how to describe him.
He's like your typical bank guy, like, you know, like, he understands the job, like, you know, we can't be nice to everyone, we still got to run a company.
Right.
You know, he's like, I'm not going to give you the promotion, you got to work for it.
Mm-hmm. He's not really an asshole. He's just kind of like doing his job.
Yeah.
And he seems to do it well. But one person that I can say is an asshole is her other coworker, who our main character Christine and him are competing for a promotion. And this guy's name is Stu.
Fuck Stu.
Fuck him.
I hate Stu. He didn't even say mayo on his sandwich, and he's like, oh, there's no mayo. He's like, I'm pretty sure. He's like, no, I said mayo.
Yeah, it's true. You see a lot of, immediately you get the vibe that they're competing with each other when she is talking to her boss and he's just like looking at them, like even in the middle of meeting with like this couple, it seems like he's like jealous of her.
Yeah, anytime she's doing literally anything, he's like watching her every move.
Yeah. It's very creepy. So I think she should go to HR with that.
Yeah. So this man is staring at me.
So yeah, you get the idea that she kind of feels like she has unfulfilled potential, and like her boyfriend's parents are kind of exacerbating that by constantly bringing it up. And she wants this promotion because I feel like this is going to kind of prove herself to the people around her and probably to herself as well. You get that idea. But then this is where the kind of more moral morality tale part of the story really takes hold, is when this old lady, whose name's Sylvia Ganoush, she's an old, you can kind of tell she's like European.
Yeah, like Eastern European.
And she kind of walks in and she's looking to extend her loan because she's been late on it. And like that day, I guess, 2 times, yeah. And like, that day, I guess she's going to get thrown out of her house. Her house is going to get foreclosed. And it's something she's been in there for like 30 years or whatever. And I think immediately you get bad vibes from this lady.
Yeah,
she's like,
she's got witch vibes.
This lady's creep. Yeah, this lady's a gypsy freak.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is where Christine, it ends up being all up to her whether or not she can help this lady and extends her.
But it's important that the
least.
boss told her before she met with her that he's like, whoever wants this promotion is going to have to make the tough decisions.
Right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
in her mind, she's like, from now on, I got to make the tough calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you feel the pressure on her in this moment, and it becomes a choice of, do I do the right thing and I help this lady, but I'm going to probably lose on this promotion? Or do I screw this lady over and I'm better off the rest of my life?
And in Christine's defense, and I think this is a really good moral thing, like moral conundrum, is that this lady is late twice on her payment. So she was already given a second chance and a third chance. So, I mean, I'm not saying what Christine did is right. I'm just saying I think it's perfectly justified and fine.
Yeah.
Her decision.
Yeah, I can't say that I would have done anything differently than what she did.
No.
Thinking realistically and putting myself in that situation,
Yeah.
Can't blame her for making that choice. So yeah, she ends up denying the lady a loan after thinking about it. You can tell she's really conflicted about it. And then from there you get a really uncomfortable scene of the lady on the ground begging her to extend her the time for her to pay back some of her loan. Then she starts getting really aggressive with her, and the security has to come in.
She shames her
and take her out. Yeah. She puts her on the spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, then after that day, she kind of gets in her car. She's about to go home from work. And then she looks across the parking garage and she sees that old lady's car is there. And you see this handkerchief that she was using earlier kind of floating in the wind. And then you're like, oh God, here we go. And it's one of the coolest shots in the movie. And it legitimately freaked me the fuck out.
The flying handkerchief?
Yeah, the flying handkerchief is like flying across the car and she's kind of watching it. And the camera's following it. And it goes to the back of the car. And all of a sudden, you just see like this person in shadow sitting in the back of her car. And she comes toward the camera and her face comes into the light. And you see that fucked up eye that she has. Yeah. It's like, oh, that was so spooky. That gave me the chills, legitimately. But yeah, then you get a very Evil Dead-esque fight scene between the old lady and Christine.
This is the one scene that has always stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Because the old lady gets like stapled in the head. She gets her dentures knocked out of her. She gets a ruler down the throat.
Yeah, this lady goes through a lot of shit. Yeah. And so does Christine. I mean, that's
she puts up a fight for like
situation.
Probably like an 80-year-old.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is where I started really getting Evil Dead vibes, where I was like, okay, this is like Ash fighting against the Deadites, where like all of a sudden he's like this normal guy, but he just is like fighting and trying to survive.
This is when you like are reminded, oh, this is a Raimi movie.
Yeah. So, but this whole struggle, which kind of culminates in Christine getting knocked out by Ganush, unfortunately. And Ganush takes a button from her coat and curses it and gives it back to her, unfortunately. But then I think it just kind of cuts to her and her boyfriend like talking about what happened, right? They don't really show her like waking up. And
also her boyfriend is like a psychologist too.
Oh yeah.
He's like a psychology professor. So he's like going on about like PTSD. So pretty much all the things she'll like experience throughout this movie, he's just like, no, it's just like PTSD. You know? No one's there. Even though like shadow hands are trying to murder her.
Yes. So her and her boyfriend are kind of still reeling from that attack, and they're talking about it. And basically Christine is saying like she thinks that old lady did something to her, like she's being like haunted, basically. and they end up being like right in front of a fortune teller's like place of business. So she kind of sees the sign and she's just like, oh, let's go in there and like see what this guy's gonna say about my future or whatever. And so they find out that indeed from that fortune teller that yep, a dark spirit is haunting her. And it's confirmed even further when she goes home by herself and she suffers an attack by whatever this thing is. And it seems to have Ganesha's voice and everything. And you can't, there's like this weird thing where you can't tell what everything she's seeing, whether or not it's real.
Well, that was like the thing that like the psychic told her later in the movie. He says like, the first you'll hear it, and then the second day you'll see it, and then the third day it takes you.
Right, yeah. And that makes sense because I think that first scene at her house alone at night, I think all she does is hear it, really.
Yeah, she just hears, like, it's like rattling, like, the pans, it's like banging on the doors and stuff. It's just like throwing things, almost like a poltergeist, but you never see it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then Christina's kind of just like, well, she probably thinks she's hallucinating still at this point. I don't think she's quite all the way in the belief that a dark spirit is haunting her. So she kind of goes to work the next day as normal, and this is where we get kind of a comedic scene where she starts hallucinating more about Ganush, like being there in her work, kind of mostly just hearing her, not really seeing her. And she starts bleeding profusely from her nose at first, and then all of a sudden she just starts vomiting blood
all over her boss.
Yeah, her boss is just
like,
sitting there trying to make sure she's okay.
Did it get in my mouth? Did it get in my mouth?
Yeah. I thought that was fucking so funny.
That's all he cared about. He's like, did it get in my mouth? Did it get in my mouth?
Yeah. Oh man, that was great. And this is where we get the next evolution of Stu's character arc, where he, amid all this chaos, he steals a file from Christine's desk, which I guess ended up being like this huge major file that was probably going to get her the promotion if she could close the sale of it, of this loan to this company. Now Christina's kind of thinking like, all right, something fucked up is going on. I can't really tell anyone about it because everyone's going to think I'm fucking crazy. So she's thinking like, oh, maybe I can go back to Ganush and like basically beg her for forgiveness for what she did to her and foreclosing her house and all that. So she figures out where she lives. She goes there, but it ends up being, she discovers that she recently has died. So Ganush is dead. And we get a scene at the funeral where she's kind of just walking in, and all of a sudden she just falls on top of Ganush's body in the coffin. And she rolls out of it, and Ganush rolls on top of her, and we get Ganush like leaking fluids from her mouth onto Christine.
Yeah. I assume it's just kind of like the soup that happens, like your organs turn into.
Yeah.
After you die, yeah. But it's like profusely coming out of her mouth all over her.
Yeah, like abnormally a large amount of fluid.
Yeah, it's like really yellow pus.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah. It's rough. It's rough. She goes back to that fortune teller that she talked to earlier in the movie after this, and she's like, "Oh man, well, like what can I do like to get rid of this spirit?" And I guess here this is when she finds out for sure that that button that she took from her and cursed earlier in the movie is what's cursing her, and that's what is bringing Ganush upon her. And that's kind of Ganush's tie to her, and now she can kind of come back to her and torment her from the spirit world. Yeah, and this is where we get all of that kind of lore as well, where I guess the demon is called Lamia.
Yeah, it's like a goat demon.
Yeah, and then the fortune teller kind of describes like how it takes around 3 days, the whole process of like this thing tormenting her, and at the end of that third day, she's finally dragged to hell, like we saw that child get happen to earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where he also says that maybe he's basically just like, maybe a sacrifice will appease it.
Yeah, just maybe you could like kill a small animal. He's like, you got any chickens around?
Yeah. So it's a very sad scene, but Christina has to end up killing her pet kitten, which is just brutal. She just ends up stabbing it in her backyard.
Yeah, and then immediately burying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a vegetarian.
Yeah, she doesn't like doing that kind of stuff. No killing animals.
Vegetarians hate killing their pet cats.
What the frick?
The frick?
So the next day, she's kind of burying her pet kitten in her backyard, and this is where her boyfriend ends up meeting it back up with her, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing back here?" And she's like, "Oh, nothing." Like she's trying to still hide all the fucked up shit that's going on. So, and then this is that night, I guess, is when they had planned for her to meet her boyfriend's parents, who, as we said earlier, are really snobby, rich people, and they don't think that she's right for their son.
I feel like it was mostly the mom. The dad seemed pretty chill.
The dad seemed cool. Yeah, that's true.
Mommy issues.
Yeah. So they get to the dinner, and everything seems to be going pretty well. And I think Christine at this point thinks that the demon is gone. Like that.
Yeah, she thinks the ritual worked.
Yeah, kind of appeased it. But we find out as we go through that dinner scene that nope, Ganoush is still fucking around.
Classic Ganoush.
Because you hear her and you see that like she's like making her hallucinate about her fucking like cake that she's eating.
Yeah, there's like an eyeball in it.
Yeah, which is like she's trying to keep it cool while everyone else is talking with each other, but I mean she eventually can't. She screams and like throws a glass at the wall, and then the mom of the boyfriend is like, "What the fuck? You need to leave right now."
Yeah.
And the boyfriend kind of doesn't really follow her out after the mom is like, "Don't follow her. She's crazy."
She's unwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she thinks she's on like drugs or something.
So this is where she's kind of at her wit's end, and doesn't really know what else to do. So she goes back to the fortune teller and sees if there's anything else this guy can do for her. So now this is where we get the payoff for that flashback scene that we saw at the beginning. And that medium that we saw at the beginning of the movie that watched that kid get pulled into hell is introduced to us. And they're basically going to do a seance to try to trap this demon and end up killing it. And I guess their plan is to trap it and have the demon possess the goat and then kill the goat. And then ideally, that's how they would be able to get rid of the demon.
Didn't work out well.
No. Things do not go as planned. The demon ends up possessing another guy at the table, and I think the medium herself as well.
Yeah, it was the medium and then the goat, but then he was smart and kicked the guy, and then they went into the guy, and it was a whole series.
This is the part where I was laughing like so hard for some reason. Because when he possesses like that third guy at the table, it's so Evil Dead. I could see it being an Evil Dead where he's like floating in the air and dancing.
Yeah,
and
he's like dancing and singing. Yeah.
I was like, God damn it, what the hell is this?
It's like an Evil Dead when like his like sister's body or whatever comes up the skeleton and she's like dancing with her severed head.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah, so unfortunately, the fallout of all this is that they basically don't get anything done. The demon gets away. They don't end up killing the goat. And on top of that, the medium from the beginning of the movie in that flashback ends up dying. And basically all that they really accomplished was that they banished the demon from that immediate situation they were in.
Yeah, they just severed him from a seance. They didn't like send him away.
Yeah, so she is still dreading that like Ganoush is gonna and this demon Lamia are gonna show their ugly face. Now basically the fortune teller is just like, all right, now basically the only thing you can do is like to give this button that you have, this cursed button, to somebody else. and he puts in an envelope and gives it to her. So now this is another moral situation that Christine is put in. She goes to
she's damning someone else to hell, whoever she gives it to.
Yeah, it reminded me of It Follows. Like that whole
it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Except giving a button is a lot easier than fucking someone.
Hey, but which is more enjoyable? I'd definitely say fucking someone.
I don't know. I think giving a button's more fun because they get a button. It's fun. They're a collector. Maybe they need a button.
That could be true. That's probably true. So yeah, she goes to like this diner and she's kind of looking around and she's considering all these different people.
She's basically looking for an asshole.
Yeah. At one point, she's just going to give it to some old man who's just sitting there eating. But then she stops when she realizes, oh, this guy's got a wife, and his wife like returns to the table. And this is the part of the movie where I was like totally on board with her doing this.
Yes, I was.
When she calls Stu.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Stu, I know that you fucking stole my file earlier. Can you fucking come here and meet me about it in this random diner?
Yeah, and then he shows up and is immediately just crying. He's like, please don't tell my mom. Please don't tell the boss.
Yeah.
Please, please, please.
And it's so satisfying to see him like fucking
in
like,
tears,
begging. Yeah. It's great. But even she is good enough of a person. She doesn't even do it to Stu, which is more than I would have given him. Like,
no, yeah, fuck Stu.
That guy would have gotten the button so hard.
If someone in public looked at me funny, I would have given them the button. So Stu definitely deserves it.
Exactly. So now she kind of remembers his suggestion that, like, oh, you can give this to a dead person, actually, as well. Because the medium mentioned that earlier. So she ends up going back to give it to Ganoush. She finds Ganoush's grave. She digs up her grave, opens the coffin, and gives her the envelope. So, and then this is where we kind of think that everything's okay. Like, this seems to be like kind of like a time jump. It kind of cuts to Christine. She seems to be preparing to like go somewhere on like a trip with her boyfriend.
Yeah, they're gonna go to like his parents' cabin. Like they were like planning that in the beginning of the movie.
Right. Yeah. And everything is going well for her. It seems like we find out that she's getting that promotion from her boss. Finally, because I guess Stu was just so like heartbroken and felt so bad about it that he went and confessed to her boss that, oh yeah, the reason that we didn't get this like big deal with this client was because I fucking stole her file, basically. So she seems to be all good. She buys like a brand new nice blue coat. Just like, I'm gonna go out with my boyfriend, have a great weekend trip.
New coat, new me.
Yes. And unfortunately, we find out at this point, right when they're about to get on the train to go on their weekend trip, that envelope that the button was in, earlier in the movie, she ends up dropping it in her boyfriend's car. And she can't find it for a second. She's like, oh shit, where is it? Like, and the boyfriend has all these different papers on the floor of his car. And she picks it up and she thinks she's found it. But her boyfriend ends up giving her that envelope back because he didn't really know what it was or what the significance of it was. She's like, oh yeah, hey, here's that envelope you were looking for the other day in my car.
No, it was because she got the new coat. And he was like, oh, where's your old coat? Because I found the button.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why. Oh yeah, and I guess it's set up earlier that the boyfriend is like a coin collector
nerd.
Yeah, he's like a coin collector nerd. So I guess he says that he's like, oh, I guess the envelope you gave him just had a coin in it, and it wasn't the button.
That makes sense.
So then all of a sudden, this crushing weight of dread comes over you and her. You see it in her face, and you're like, oh god, what's gonna happen? And this is probably the third day. At this point.
Yeah, it is the third morning. It was like the morning of the third day.
Yeah. So the curse is never lifted. So she starts to get freaked out, and all of a sudden she's just hearing things again. And this is where she falls onto the train tracks in front of her.
With the train coming at full speed.
Yeah, the train is like right there.
And I love like Justin Long's just like, oh God. Yeah. He's like, oh my God.
It's such like a genuine reaction. Like,
yeah.
I feel like someone in that situation really would just be like, oh my God. My God.
Like, what
That's
do you
what
do?
makes it so disturbing.
He's like that lady in Twin Peaks when in season 3 when that boy just like that sickly boy just comes out of her car. She's like, oh God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
One of the best scenes in all of David Lynch's film catalog.
Yeah. We're gonna be late for dinner. It's almost 6:30.
I still can't make heads or tails of that scene.
You don't need to.
Like, I don't know why that was in it. I don't know what it means.
It's funny.
Yeah, I guess you're just supposed to vibe with it.
Just a funny little moment. just a mother and her kid hanging out.
Nothing weird about it. Bro.
Nothing weird about it.
So yeah, and I think you could probably tell where this is going. That train is coming, but right when that train is about to hit her, all of a sudden that ground starts breaking apart, like we saw at the beginning of the movie with that boy, and those hands start grabbing her and dragging her down to hell. Like we
and
saw
also
earlier.
her face is like melting from the heat.
Yes,
as she's getting dragged in.
She's like screaming, like, help me, please, like, help me. And like, as she's doing that, like, you see like the skin around her eyes is like burning away, and like you see her whole eyeballs, and like you see her skeleton. Basically, it's really disturbing, especially because I think you've come to really like Christine at that point, and you're like are really happy.
You're very happy that she got over everything.
Right? Yeah, it's a great ending. And now basically Justin Long has to watch her get dragged down to hell under this train,
and
while
the
he's
final
holding
shot
the button.
Is just like him reaching out, and it's just his face, and his like mouth is open, his eyes are just horrified, his entire face is red, there's tears going down his eyes and snot coming out. Yeah. And he just holds on that, and he's like in shock, and then just cuts to black title card.
Yeah. It's such a good ending. It really like creeped me out.
It's
like
mean.
And
I love it.
It's very mean. She didn't really deserve that, in my opinion. But
no. And I think that's the main theme of the movie. I think a lot of people get punishments for mistakes they don't necessarily should probably punish that hard for. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also like the world. Obviously, we know morals are not black and white as much as I think a lot of people want them to be. But in this world, the morals are very black and white.
Yes.
And it's almost to like a comedic satirical point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's like the point of it.
Yeah, I definitely think they were going for that there. For sure. And I mean, you could argue also that that's just like hell's like black and white, like moral compass. For
well, I mean, I remember as a young boy, we always dig up my traumatized youth every time we record. But
we talk about religion
in a Christian home, I had a genuine fear of going to hell. Hell was a very tangible thing for me. You know, like, to me, hell was a place just, like, I could, like, go at any moment. You know, like, the floor could open up and I just walk right in, you know? It doesn't help you learn in school that, like, the middle of the earth is, like, molten lava. I'm like, oh, shit, that's hell. You know? Bible says hell's underground, earth, hell. So, I think it's a very, like, deeply rooted like fear, even though now I'm an adult, I don't believe in it. But that is something that when you're a kid that you can't really comprehend. You do really look at the world black and white. Mm-hmm. And when you get older, it kind of fucks with you when you realize things aren't that way. And you're like, oh shit, if I don't do this one thing, I might go to hell. I don't want that. So for me, and I think a lot of kids growing up in an evangelical Christian household would relate to this movie a lot, as just kind of like a deeply rooted fear that's always kind of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think last episode we were talking about a Christian horror movie and how we wish that existed. This is pretty close to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just but this is too morally gray for Christians. We need her to like get an abortion. She's like, should I get that abortion? And then she gets the abortion. And they're like, you're going to hell. The abortion demon's coming for you.
There needs to be some hot button, like conservative political issue that she is on the wrong side of. For her to get.
And then right before she gets dragged to hell, she's like, the election was rigged. And then the hell closes and they spit her back up.
You saved yourself, sweetheart. Good job.
Yeah, Donald Trump's campaign bus comes. And he's like, I saw you were about to get dragged to hell. Ganoosh that woman, but I'm glad to see you gonna vote for me in the 2024 election. Don't get an abortion.
Oh God. You see the demons that were pulling her in have like MAGA hats on.
Yeah. Wait, no, they'd be Bernie hats.
They'd be Bernie hats?
No,
why?
Yeah, because Trump sends them to heaven.
Oh, okay.
Because she found her faith again before getting sent to hell.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So the Bernie supporters would.
It's the Bernie support. Dems go to hell.
And Biden is Satan.
Yeah, Biden's down there. He's like, oh, I'd go touch the hair on my legs.
Oh, no. I'm going to sniff this young girl's hair.
I'm going to sniff your hair. I'm going to kiss you on the cheek.
Have you seen that video where he's like sniffing that girl's hair?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of Joe Biden doing creepy. Hey, that's why they call him Creepy Joe.
Yeah, it's creepy Sleepy Joe.
I just love that video where he tells that kid to feel the hair on his legs. He's like, push the hair on my legs down. Don't let them pop up.
I mean, I don't mind the guy. I do think he's too old to be president for sure. Like, he just seems like he comes off like a doddering old fool sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think that's what we want in a leader of our country.
Yeah. I think if you're over the age of like 60, you should just not. Like, if you can retire, like, you probably shouldn't be working like just a low stress office job at that age. I don't think you should be able to run a country.
Yeah. I agree. Let's get off of politics, though.
What do you mean?
We don't want to be divisive. We don't.
What do you mean?
Divisive.
I don't see a problem with it. What? You get an abortion, you go to hell. That's our stance, right?
No, I do not condone that. I'll say
we
right
hate
now.
women's rights on this podcast.
No, not with Roe v. Wade almost getting canceled. We're not doing that right now.
All right. I take it back. In light of current events, I take it back.
But yeah, I think we both really, really, really enjoy this movie. It's like I said before, it's probably one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies now. I'd never seen it before.
I was surprised when you told me you didn't see it. I was like, what?
Yeah. The only reason I didn't see it, I thought Sam was just a producer on it. That's why. I don't know why I thought that.
He produces a lot, though.
He does, yeah. Yeah.
One thing I love about all Sam Raimi produced movies, and I know this is intentional, the director always adds that Evil Dead shot of like, there's always wooden stairs, and it's like from the perspective behind the stairs. So you see the characters like feet as they're like stepping down. You get that creak. Literally every Raimi produced movie has that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
I watched Crawl, and they did that exact thing, and I was like, oh, yep, there's the Raimi shot.
Is it that alligator movie?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one yet. I have to watch that.
Gators are cool. It's like Florida, the movie. It's like what all Floridans fear. Actually, I think it's just what all people aren't from Florida fear, because that's just like normal for Florida. Like, we just think that's Florida every day. Like, there's just gonna be 3 giant, like 8 feet long, like alligators in our basement.
Oh god. I saw a really badass video that took place in Florida recently with an alligator or crocodile. It was like, I guess this guy was just like walking his dog by like a lake or whatever, and like this this alligator crocodile comes out of the water and grabs his dog and drags it into the water.
Fuck that.
And then, but the part that made it like badass was like the guy went in the water and like grabbed the alligator and crocodile and dragged it out with the dog still in its mouth.
Floridians are not scared of alligators.
And they he pried its mouth open and got the dog out of its mouth.
That's awesome.
I was like, damn. And the dog was fine, apparently.
That's like that video of that guy punching the kangaroo that had his dog in the headlock. That's one of my all-time favorite videos, because he puts up hands and the kangaroo's like ready to fight and he just decks him in the face and the kangaroo just stunned.
Yeah, it's so confused.
he's like, did I just get punched? I lose my mind every time I watch that video.
And it was so intimidating, it just runs away. It's like, I'm not fucking with that.
He's like, he's like, fuck you, dude. That wasn't cool.
If he was a human, he'd have tears in his eyes and be running away.
He's like, I can't believe you did that to me. He would be like Stu when he gets found out.
Exactly.
Fuck Stu.
F Stu. Honestly, one of the characters I've hated in cinema recently.
Stu.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. And
he did kind of redeem himself at the end when he ended up apologizing, but still.
Did he?
I mean, I guess he only did because he was like found out, like, so.
You know what they say? You can forgive but never forget.
That's right. The demons in hell, they'll always remember when you have to.
Stu's going to hell. I know that for a fact. He's gonna see Christy down there. But by then she'll be like promoted to a demon, like a higher up demon, so she can like torture him. That's the sequel.
I would watch that if she became like an asshole demon.
She's just cool. Like a lone person in hell. It's like, oh, you're building like a giant torture castle. Need about 50,000 more. Oh wait, there's a guy named Stu there. Yeah. You get the loan.
Yeah, that's when she's on board.
Yeah, they just kind of like slap a bunch of like rubber bands on his penis for like 100 years. That'd be cool.
That's all his torture is. He can't move. He's just getting rubber bands like fucking flicked onto his penis.
It's just his limp dick, just getting swacked with a bunch of rubber bands and his balls too.
I mean, that would hurt. I'm not gonna lie. But
that's my.
Well, I guess, and I kind of wanted to end it on just your like hopes for Raimi in the future and what he does next.
Well, we know Evil Dead 4 is coming.
Yeah, which is he? I don't think is that a movie?
He's writing. I don't think he's directing. I hope we get a horror comeback from him.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like he's probably going to be doing this Evil Dead thing for a while. I'm hoping I just want more Evil Dead stuff.
Yeah.
There's not been a single bad Evil Dead thing, and I think it's 100% due to Raimi's involvement on all of it.
It's true, yeah. Even the show was great. I love that show. What
I hope is he uses this newfound, because Marvel fans are weirdos. They only watch Marvel movies. So when they get any kind of artsy, independent, like basically a director that actually knows what they're doing, they kind of latch on to them and will follow them. So I hope Raimi's able to use that to his advantage in like terms of his future success. But I hope he just makes another horror movie.
Me too. I want him to go because I just felt I ended up feeling really bad for him by the end of Doctor Strange 2, where I was like, God damn, dude, this dude, he loves the audience. He wants to do everything for them, right? But like the last time he did this, Spider-Man 3 was a disaster, and I feel like Doctor Strange 2 has a lot of the same problems script-wise that Spider-Man 3 had. It's like, man, this guy cannot fucking catch a break with these like large superhero movies.
You know, you can't make them all come. You know,
like, yeah, I guess not. It sucks. I actually saw an interview with him recently where that's what he was saying he wanted to do next was like a really small scale horror film.
I hope he can do that. I just want something gross and gnarly from him.
Yeah, me too. I just hope to God that the MCU doesn't lock him into like a contractual obligation to do like 2 more Doctor Strange movies or something like that.
Who gives a shit about Doctor Strange?
Yeah, honestly, this new movie did not do anything to make me care for him.
You're gonna laugh. I genuinely couldn't tell you Doctor Strange's power. I genuinely cannot tell you, other than like he shoots sonic rings, I think.
Well, he doesn't really have powers. He's just like, he just knows magic really well. He knows how to do magic.
Oh, so he's Chris Angel.
Yeah, basically.
Wait, so he's like a magician.
Yeah.
So it's not real. It's like illusions.
No. It's like real magic.
So he's a wizard.
Yeah, he's like a wizard. Yeah, that's a better word
well,
for it.
I would be much more interested in a Wizard Strange instead of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's called Doctor Strange. That's
he a
a question
doctor?
you have to ask the Marvel people.
Does he have a doctorate? That's probably why.
He does have a doctorate. Yeah.
I couldn't call any of my professors like Mr. or Mrs. They're like, no, it's Doctor. So like once you get the doctorate, he's like, even as a superhero. You know,
I guess so.
like, it's Doctor.
The
Doctor
doctor
Strange.
title carries into being a superhero.
I went through 8 years of school. It's Doctor. Okay.
Even if I'm here punching Thanos in the face, you have to call me Doctor.
That's why he punished Thanos. Is he called him Mr. Strange?
Oh God. Yeah, it's weird. The news Doctor Strange, it barely goes into his character at all. It's like I feel like Wanda was more interesting in it. It's so strange.
More like Wanda Strange in the multiverse of Wanda.
Got him. They really should have just called it like Wanda and Strange or something stupid like that.
Do you think they wanted to make a Scarlet Witch, but they didn't think audiences would care enough, so they just made Doctor Strange the lead?
That could be, honestly. I feel like the character, because of that Disney Plus show, is like elevated in popularity so much. I feel like they could definitely do a Scarlet Witch solo movie now. I don't know if I actually watched that personally, but I mean, I feel like they could probably do it.
But no Morbius.
Yeah. No Morbius for some reason. One of the cinematic graces.
Someone really fucked up there in Disney.
Oh God!
Just saying that would have brought him more.
Well, enough of that. Enough of Disney.
Enough of that.
Enough of it.
I'm gonna use that anytime you start talking about Marvel. Enough of that.
Okay, you can, because I'm like, my tolerance for Marvel Studios movies is at an all-time low. Now, even with this new one, I ended up appreciating Sam Raimi for what he did to the movie and how he elevated it. But like, good God, man, it's just like,
hey. Enough of that.
Okay.
Enough of it.
But yeah, we both want to see Sam go back to his horror roots next. Do something like Drag Me to Hell. Like a nice little horror movie contained. Like, doesn't even have to be Evil Dead. It would be cool if it was Evil Dead. But yeah, just make a fun like horror movie. I think people would love that, and it would come out in droves. Especially after, like what you said, the fan base has probably grown since he did Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.